going on, guys? Today is going to be a little bit different style of a video. It's going to be me kind of just yapping about just my ranked play experience on Marvel Rivals. I feel like it's it's definitely a unique one. I'm not super high level yet. I'm only gold 2. I got to gold 2 in about a day and a half probably. First day I played, I got to, I think I want to say around like silver 2, something like that. No, I think it was like silver 3. And then I got into what I would consider probably the most trolly experience I've ever had on any ranked play game. Or like any ranked play experience through any of the other games that I've ever played. I've played COD, I've played League, I've played Val. Those are probably the main 3 like ranks that I've tried. And then now Marvel Rivals. In COD, I got to Crim 2 pretty comfortably. I think I was like level 14, Crim 2, something along those lines, and I just got burnt out. I had already did the camo grind in that game. I just didn't feel like playing the game anymore. And then for League and Val, I got both around Plat or Diamond, around there in both of those games. And here I'm gonna shoot for the same. I'm gonna try to get Plat or Diamond. And if I can get to Diamond, then I'll definitely attempt the goal of Grandmaster. I don't know if I'll make it there, but if I get Plat or Diamond, I'll feel pretty good about pushing forward. Anyways, I will say the quote unquote elo hell in this game has to be like the bronze, the silver, and maybe some of the gold. I don't know. I've only played X amount of games in gold, and for the most part, they've gone pretty well. But definitely the bronze and silver lobbies, man. I've never experienced anything quite like it. So if you're barely starting out and you're trying ranked, and this is maybe your first game you've ever played ranked on, and you're just getting what an interesting taste to the game. Maybe it's like this in Overwatch, but man, it's kind of insane. At least for me, I had someone literally, they just backed out. That we won first side on Convoy, and they just backed out. He was our tank, he was our main tank, and he just backed out. I don't know why, he just left. Another game, I have some random dude just what seems like grunting in mic for like 5 minutes straight. It was impossible for me to try to focus. Another game, a bronze game, I'm like, we're like 4 DPS. No one wants to play tank for whatever reason. Like I'm healing, so I'm like, please, can we get a tank? We don't. We stick like that and lose. Like, it's just the weirdest experience. And again, I'm in ranked, so it's like I'm expecting us to at least try, you know, give it a good effort. You know, if we lose, we lose. But man, was it just not what I was expecting to play, I guess. Like I said, eventually, you know, got out of it. Now I'm in gold 2. I will say, for if anybody who's grinding ranked right now, I can just give you just my, I guess, like tips and tricks overall to see what you guys might find useful. I definitely think some team ups are really good. For example, like my 2 main characters, I'll probably have some gameplay going on in the background, just showing off some of my games. My main 2 that I'd say, if I'm going healer, I'm gonna go Rocket. I know Rocket gets a lot of just shit just for... I feel like the biggest complaint against Rocket is mostly his individual heals as well as his lack of a defensive ult. But I think playing him properly, like, he gives sustainable heals to the team, and especially if you have anybody who's like, let's say like aerial assault, you know, someone like Iron Man or Storm, or any of those kind of players that fly around a lot. I think he's the best at healing them because you don't have to be super accurate. You can just kind of lob up one of the orbs in the air and they'll start to get healed. For squishies, Rocket heals them very quickly. It's mostly, in my opinion, just healing tanks, especially ones like Venom and Groot. Tanks with a lot of health that you have to heal. It can take quite a long time to heal them up, and when they're unfortunately, a lot of tanks just dive into 1v6s and you have to pocket heal them, and if they die, they insta-blame heals even though they're clearly out of position. I understand they have to be frontline, but there's a way to like play frontline without just diving into a 1v6. But you know, in these lower ranks, it's kind of hard to explain that. Luckily, I have a buddy of mine who he mains tank, which is great because that way I can swap to heal or DPS as needed depending on what the team needs. And he mains Thor, and for my DPS main is Hela. I have quite a few DPSs I can play, like Hela, Punisher, Namor, a little bit of Psylocke. I'm okay with Psylocke. And as far as tanks, I can really only play Groot. Like, for my heals, I feel like I'm for sure around a plat or diamond level in terms of my heals and DPS. I feel like for my tanking, not as high. I think maybe, yeah, I'm about where I am right now, which is about gold. Like I don't think my tanking is really good. But anyways, I think overall, if you're going to be grinding, I think it's good to have one champ that you're really good at in each category. So, you know, one good DPS, one heal, one tank. So that way when your team's being really stubborn and no one wants to swap or play like a certain role, or if like let's say your tank's getting slammed and you know you can be a better tank, or vice versa, you say you know your DPS is doing horrible. It sucks because sometimes I feel like it's most common with DPS players. They have the biggest ego, even in low elo lobbies. Like at the end of the day, like right now, this is all just talking about low elo ranks. So pretty much bronze to gold right now, because that's where I'm at. I feel like if you're a DPS, you have to bring your ego down a lot, because clearly you are not that great or you wouldn't be here right now. And again, even though that I, for the most part, plan to be passing through and get to plat and diamond, like, doesn't matter. Like, as far as where it stands right now, if I'm on DPS and I'm not doing that well, I can swap off. Like, everyone just needs to bring their ego down a lot. Like, I don't care what player you're playing. If you're not performing well, think of what you can do differently to play better in the game. Like, if you're stuck at DPS, can you play tank? Can you play healer? See if someone will like swap with you, because you just... It happened earlier to me where I don't really know what happened. We lost point and then they started pushing the convoy. And for whatever reason, my teammate, I guess, was just raging at the fact that we lost the initial hold. And after that, he just started feeding. He did not care. He just started throwing, was complaining at everybody. And again, this is a gold to plat lobby. And he's just chalking it because we got pushed back all the way defensively. I eventually get like a solid like 3 to 5 piece. But you know, it's staggered. So like, you know, I get like 2 or 3, then they TP and I get 2 more, and then I get ulted, so I die. But if he's locked in, we have a chance to at least capture the point and then start pushing the convoy, at least buying us a chance to tie the game and go into overtime. But he was already chalked. The Spider-Man running it down, he did not care. He was diving into a 1v6. And again, to me, I'm like, okay, at the end of the day, we're in a gold to plat lobby. At very best, we're okay players. We're not necessarily bad players, but we're not good players either. So to have like this massive ego, again, as just a DPS win, I was also DPS that match. I had a lot more kills than him, and I did a lot more damage than him. So like, if I can stay locked, I need that as well. But again, a lot of what you're going to experience, unfortunately, in these lower elos, is just people that don't know what they're doing, and everyone's very quick to blame without thinking what can they do to help the team. They're more just like blame heals, blame tank, blame DPS. And don't get me wrong, sometimes those are legitimate complaints, but mid-match, like, yelling at your team is not going to help anybody. like you yelling at your team is not going to help anybody. The best you can do is try to adapt your play style and hope that your team will kind of collect everything together. Like if you make a certain amount of plays and can actually get things going and actually help the team, then hopefully, you know, you can leave your teammates up to attempt to actually start playing better. I feel like this is very common for a lot of healers. Again, I main Rocket, and so a lot of times, unfortunately, it's very hard to kind of carry with Rocket. I can give the most heals. I can give, you know, good respawn beacons, pop my ult pretty well, and I can still also do a good chunk of damage. Rocket does a lot more damage than people give him credit for, and I more often than not catch a lot of people off guard by just doing way more damage than they expect, especially the squishies. And don't get me wrong, I'll mess up a good tank and I'll get them like a quarter to a half health down, but like a DPS or a healer, I will shred you before I need to reload 9 times out of 10 if you're close enough. So, but again, unfortunately, as a strategist, all you can really do is just slob people up. What I mean by that is, like, you can set someone up for an easy layup or an easy dunk, but like, if they don't know how to actually play, you're kind of screwed, unfortunately. Especially in, like I said, just this lower elo, because like not everyone knows how to play yet in this lower bracket. Like, don't get me wrong, as I climb, the more and more like I get actual competent players, and like, oh, okay, cool, like our DPS is doing their job, or like our tank is doing their job, or even our healers. Like when I'm on DPS, like I'm getting healed a lot. Thankfully, I'm actually getting healed, you know. But most of the time, it's just kind of like, all right, how do you adapt to the situation? If you aren't getting like that good of heals, can you swap to a third healer? Maybe you can help boost the team that way. Maybe your tanks are just really having a hard time. Can you swap to a tank? Like, yo, like, again, a lot of it comes down to their egos and if they're willing to swap. I feel like most of the time, someone's willing to swap. At least around gold. I think in silver and bronze, people will more than happily lose. Like, especially like when you're just starting out. Like, I have a friend who I think he's like bronze 2 right now, but I've seen him play. He's pretty good. He's a pretty good DPS, and I've seen his lobbies, and it's just constantly no one wants to swap. No one wants to do like anything to help the team. So at the beginning, you really have to hard carry a lot of your team, and it can be quite frustrating, especially because, you know, this is at the end of the day a team shooter or like a hero shooter. So a lot of it is based on team coordination, and when your team at the very beginning just does not want to help, it can be very frustrating, and it does a lot to the mental. And definitely what I recommend for every rank, no matter what game it is, don't just, I forget what it's called, don't just like rage queue. You know, if you're having a bad time, you've just gotten like 2 to 3 like bad games in a row with like horrible teammates, don't just keep queuing. Like at the end of the day, rage queuing helps nobody. So you might as well just get off, you know, reset, maybe come back tomorrow, something like that, or do anything else, and then try again later. Don't just keep queuing for anything. The way I've managed to rank up fast in every ranked play that I've ever played is that I get on and I get my couple wins, and then, you know, once I lose like 1 or 2, like I'll just get off because there's no point. Like, I was like, all right, you know, I was doing well, and like then I'm not doing well, or let's say I get on and I lose like 2 instantly. It's like, all right, you know what? I'm not gonna play right now. Like I'm like, I can go play pubs, I can go play another game, I can go do something productive. Like I can literally go do anything. But to stay and keep queuing, it's just a way to put so many hours when it's really not needed. I think the efficiency of leveling up, and again, this is for a lot of, I feel like, again, because I am in bronze and silver right now, I feel like this is mostly covering what I would consider like the casual players, the players that can, you know, want to play ranked, but they can't dump 60 hours a week into playing ranked. Understandably, like we all have stuff to do. So if you can get on, play like maybe 2 to 3 hours every other day or so, the best way to do it is just queue, see how the games are going. And if you're winning, by all means, you can keep queuing. And if you're losing, or you start losing more than 2, that's when you really got to think, you know what, it's probably not worth it for me to keep queuing. It's just not going well for me right now. And that's perfectly fine. But unfortunately, in this low elo, it does suck. I will say, try your best to do team ups. I think the Rocket Punisher team up is very strong. And then if they're running a Rocket Punisher, you should probably try to do it on your team as well. There's other really good team ups. I think Hela and Thor is a really strong team up. That's the one me and my friend run. Because again, I'm a pretty good DPS, so I can get enough kills to both respawn him and give him shield. And so he can still keep doing his thing and just keep just being an absolute menace to them and forcing them to have to deal with him. So yeah, there's some really strong team ups in this game, as well as like, oh, Hela also gets like 15% bonus damage. She used to get 20 in the last season, but even if you don't have that team up, Hela's still a very strong pick. But she is very aim dependent. So if you're, let's say you're in low elo and you aren't really that comfortable with your aim, I think there's other good champs out there. If you can learn Squirrel Girl, she's an absolute menace on the map without even being accurate. Scarlet Witch is also pretty good. You don't have to really aim. You don't have to aim at all with her, actually. And so just learn certain champs like that. Or if you want, you can play healer. So that way you can kind of have a backseat to the action. So that way you're not... Because let me tell you right now, if you want to be DPS, that's fine. But you have to make sure you're actually doing damage and getting kills. Not just damage, not just kills. You have to be doing both. You have to be weakening them up so that way some of your other teammates can still get kills, as well as also getting kills that actually matter. There's no point of just farming all your damage on a tank who's sitting in a Luna ult. That doesn't help anybody. So DPS, everyone wants to be DPS to get the plays, but please make sure that your aim, or if you're a dive heavy DPS, make sure that you actually know your combos, you know how to play your life and play ratty, you know your routes. There's a lot of stuff that comes with being DPS, and I feel like a lot of people just choose it just so that way they can, you know, get the most dope if they get a kill and stuff. But I do think every role has to be played properly instead of just doing what I guess most benefits you and gives you the most dope. At the end of the day, like, again, it's a team-based game, so please learn your role the best you can. I'm like level 41, 42 in this game right now, and I think at least, like I said, I barely started playing ranked the last 2 days, so I've put a good chunk of hours into learning my healers and my DPSs, so that way when I'm in ranked, I know my champs pretty well. And by all means, play ranked, enjoy it the best you can, but just know if you're struggling at the beginning, you're not the only one. And I find this ranked quite tedious to deal with in terms of low elos, but once you make it out of there, so far, my gold experience, I feel like people have a little bit more egos, but at least people know more of what they're doing, which makes the games easier to win compared to when I was in silver and bronze. No one knew what they were doing, and it was just a lot more complicated than it should have been. But yeah, that's my quick little rant on how my games have gone for bronze to gold. I'll keep you guys updated. I do plan on streaming this basically every day on Twitch. If you guys want to go follow me on there, I'll probably be live streaming some ranked play. And yeah, hopefully I can see some of you guys there. But that's going to do it for me. Thank you guys so much for watching. I love you guys, and I'll catch you guys next time. Peace.